There's a certain romance, isn't there, about saxophone, a certain mystique that encourages have-a-go heroes to pick up their favourite instrument and learn it themselves. And the history of saxophone has got loads of self-taught players. However, it's not always as easy as you think. And if you are a self-taught player, or even if you're not a self-taught player, there are 3 really big mistakes that you might be making. And I'm going to give you the solutions for those 3 problems. So let's start with the first issue, which is your embouchure. First of all, what is your embouchure? Your embouchure is just the way you have your lips and teeth on the mouthpiece. Now, self-taught players and many other players often make 2 massive mistakes with embouchure. The first is by biting too hard on the reed, using too much pressure. And the second is by curling your bottom lip over your teeth, which is something that you're often taught to do, and it's a massive mistake. So let's try and correct both those things. First of all, you need to think about bringing the sides of your lips forward and in to make this kind of baggy goldfish type lip shape, like a circular lip shape, instead of pulling the sides back and in. When you do that, your bottom lip is going to go over your teeth, and then if you use too much pressure as well, you're going to get this horrible sound. So what you want to do is think about the sides of your mouth going in and forward, and taking all the pressure off the reed. You just got to let that reed vibrate freely. Okay, now I've got whole videos on this, and if you want to watch my embouchure video, you can use the link which is up there now, and you can find it in the description as well. But let me give you a quick demonstration of how you can dramatically transform your sound by doing this. First of all, here's what it's like when you have your lip over and you bite. And now here's what it's like when you bring that embouchure, the sides of your embouchure folded in, make that goldfish embouchure, and you take all the pressure off the reed. Here's what it sounds like. Now, one immediate difference, quite apart from how massive and beautiful and fat and rich the sound is, and the second one, that the pitch will be lower. So quite often when you change your embouchure like this, you're going to have to push on to stay in pitch. Here's another quick demo contrasting those 2 styles, and you can see that it's quite dramatic. And if you make this change with your embouchure, this is how you can transform your sax sound pretty much straight away. Here's a little comparison one more time. And another fantastic bonus about doing this is you'll find yourself squeaking a lot less. Your tone will be fuller and fatter. That reed will vibrate. You'll be able to do all sorts of things in saxophone that you maybe struggled with before, including, but not limited to, low notes, palm keynotes, altissimo, the lot. So that is the first biggest mistake that self-taught and other saxophone players make, is their embouchure. Let's now move on to the second point. Now, just before we move on to the next point, if you want a whole load of tips like this to instantly transform your saxophone playing and your practice, go and check out my free Saxophone Success Masterclass, which is linked there. You can just click the link in the description. This is a whole hour of solid teaching. It's completely free. It's my gift to you. All you have to do is fill in your email and you will get instant access. There's some really, really awesome stuff in there. It's become a bit of a classic masterclass now in the YouTube space. So go and check it out, and let's move on to the next point. The second big mistake that self-taught players and other saxophone players make is with tonguing. Quite often self-taught players won't tongue at all. Now, what do I mean by this? I just mean that whenever you start a note in saxophone, you touch the reed with your tongue. That gives the sound a nice clean start. So you don't start like winding up the wind and gradually get the reed going, because your notes are just going to go, ha, a bit like bagpipes firing up. So you have to have a nice clean start to each note by using your tongue. However, even if you are tonguing, it's quite probable that you're not tonguing with very clean technique. You're probably using too much tongue, and if you move your tongue a lot, you're going to affect the pitch of the sound. Instead of just tonguing each note, it's going to be going brah, And that's going to be actually featured in point 3, so a bit of a spoiler. But let's talk about this tonguing. First of all, you just want to use the tip of your tongue and touch the tip of the reed with your tongue. Now, full disclosure, there are other methods of tonguing, including a thing called anchor tonguing, where you anchor the front of your tongue at the point of your bottom teeth, and then you kind of hump your tongue. But that's sort of more unusual, and I wouldn't recommend that to begin with for beginners. So just use the tip of your tongue, and using the absolute minimum amount, see if you can just touch the reed to start each note as you blow. So let's do it on a middle G. It's going to sound something like this. That's a type of tonguing called legato tonguing, in other words, smooth, long tonguing. Now you'll notice that there is a very, very tiny amount of contact, and the pitch of the note and the tone of the note stayed exactly the same throughout. Now, if you're doing it and it sounds more like this, you are humping your tongue. Instead of just keeping the middle of your tongue still and using the tip of your tongue, your whole tongue is moving, and it's affecting the tone and the pitch of the note every time you articulate. So that is something that you have to work on. So that is the second biggest mistake that people make, is with your tonguing, also called articulation. Let's now move on to the final biggest mistake that self-taught saxophonists make. So the third biggest mistake the self-taught saxophone players make, and many other beginner saxophone players, is to have scoops into the note. So pitch scoops. So instead of just starting each note and going ta, it goes bwah. Now I call this the dreaded lip scoops, because quite often it's caused by people using lip pressure on the reed as they fire up the note. But it can also be caused by faulty tonguing, like I mentioned in number 2. If you raise your tongue, if you raise the part of your tongue in the middle of your mouth, kind of quite close to the reed, the pitch of the note will change. I shall demonstrate this for you. Watch this. So as I raised my tongue, the pitch drops, which is kind of counterintuitive. Now, if you've got a questionable tonguing technique, every time you start a note, you're going to get a mini pitch bend as your tongue goes from a high position to a low position. It's going to go bow. And if your embouchure is too tight as well, that's really going to compound the issue and give you this thin, reedy lip scoop, I call it, into each note, which is a very unattractive thing. So you need to be able to start each note with the exact tone which you're going to continue it with, and the exact pitch that you're going to continue it with. Ta, not wow. All right. Now, there are times when you're going to bend notes, and that is a big feature of saxophone playing, which is quite often what people are trying to copy. But that is predominantly done with your throat and maybe some embouchure stuff, but mainly your throat, and that is another video altogether, which I will link in the description. But make sure that you're not doing these wows into each note. So you want to start each note nice and crisp like this. Instead of which sounds absolutely horrible. So they are your 3 main mistakes which self-taught sax players make, and the solutions to cure them. Hope that's helped. Now, if this has whetted your appetite and you suddenly think, oh wow, maybe there's a bit more to this sax business than I initially thought, why don't you jump into the Inner Circle membership? This is how you get access to me. You can get access to me with a monthly Q&A. I'm in there every day, interacting with people, answering questions, posting stuff, and it's generally a very cool place full of really friendly, enthusiastic saxophonists, depending which side of the Atlantic you're on. And it's very cheap monthly membership, and it will really encourage you and give you loads of stuff which you never knew. There's a whole library of exercises and stuff to improve your technique, and every week you get a bonus video, which is super awesome. So go and check out the Inner Circle membership, and until next week, make sure that you practice hard, practice smart, and enjoy your music. See you later.